Swift to actually test XRP and Hbar. Yes, that is actually the news today. We are going to go ahead and go through what is being said right now. What could this mean for Ripple's future and of course the XRP holders and of course Hbar, potentially huge. Reports mention Hbar and XRP to benefit from live Swift trials, 150 trillion a year. Starting on November 2025, Swift will launch live trials that allows the use of digital assets and tokenized currency transactions across its network, which currently handles 150 trillion in transactions each year. This development could also benefit crypto-related payment networks such as XRP and Hbar, known for fast, low-cost transfers. It comes alongside Swift's ongoing transition to ISO 20022 standard, which enhances the richness and usability of financial data across borders. Swift has spent years testing how to link its networks with over 11,500 financial institutions and blockchain-based assets such as stablecoins, tokenized currencies, and central bank digital currencies. Interesting timing, as Hbar is one of the few chains at Swift Sibos conference every year, right? And so here is the veneer assets, and this was here the information. And so I plugged this into Perplexity. You know, is this information accurate? Is Swift going to do this? It says, yes, your statement is accurate. Based on the last reports of August 2025, here's a comprehensive context breakdown for you. Swift live blockchain tests via XRP and Hbar initiative. Swift has stated live operational tests using blockchain technology, specifically integrating Ripple's XRP ledger and Hedera's Hbar to enhance global cross-border payment efficiency and interoperability. Boom! Does it say Bitcoin? Does it say Ethereum? Oh, I don't hear any of that. None of that nonsense, right? We're talking about actual utility on a global scale for payments and tokenized value. Let's go. Timeline. Live digital asset trials will formally begin in November. Conceding with Swift's full integration of ISO 20022. Swift, of course, serves 11,000 financial institutions across 200 countries. This potential integration could impact a $150 trillion market. What is being tested? Interoperability. The tests are not blockchain hype. They seek to directly connect legacy banking rails with distributed ledger technology, allowing instant settlement, improved reconciliation, and robust compliance within the global financial messaging systems. Assets involved, of course, we talked about XRP, we talked about Hbar, highlighted due to the compatibility with ISO 20022 standards, high transaction throughput, and low energy use, and has proven utility in cross-border payment networks. We've talked about Swift testing XRP for years, and we've always said this is going to happen eventually, and now we are finally seeing Swift directly interested. They understand that the gig is up. We cannot push this any further down the road. The new technology and innovation is knocking on the door. We can't turn them away. They know we're home. We have to let them in. We have to start working with them or they are going to replace us. That is the mindset here. That is what we're talking about here. Woo! All right, what now? Industry context. ISO 20022 rollout, November 2025, marks the end of Swift's coexistence legacy of MT and modern MX ISO messages payment formats, making it the first significant technical overhaul in decades. Legacy system shortcomings, the correspondent banking model still reliant on intermediaries and slow messaging is slated for change. It is slated to get axed, right? It is gone. Not yet. Blockchain offers a way to leapfrog those bottlenecks and move toward real-time programmable money movement. So when you have smart contracts and these types of things, you don't have to have this third party. You don't have to have a back office filled with thousands of people to make sure all of these transactions get there. It is instant. It is instantaneous. That value moves at the speed of light. No third party needed. Think about how much money can be saved without having all of these intermediaries. Medium-sized, smaller banks, credit unions, if you're not in the top 10 banks, you are paying the top 10 banks to use their rails. This is leveling the playing field for the entire banking industry, and man, it feels so good to be talking about this. Of course, the competitive race between Hbar and XRP are vying to become the standard for Swift. Listen, I think it'll be a mixture of two. I think this is going to be a really stiff competition. Of course, you have Swift and Chainlink. That is a vital part of all of this. Interconnecting legacy systems to the new systems, upgrading all of that information in real time. That is definitely a vital piece of this. But also, Hbar or XRP, why wouldn't you use both in the system? Settlement impact, settlement cost testing of Hbar and XRP aims to deliver near instant, low cost, transparent cross-border payments. Interlink Rails, Swift's pilots could enable both crypto native assets and fiat to move across the same network, power and structured by rich data flows. Also, we saw this, Patrick Bet David, this was March 31st, 2025, one of my most popular videos to watch. We watched this clip, listen up closely.
Happens. If XRP replaces Swift and FedNow, you know what happens? Let me give you some numbers here. XRP's ledger processes transactions in 3 to 5 seconds at nearly no cost, making it significantly faster and cheaper than Swift. So, Swift processes $5 trillion daily, or 1.25 quadrillion annually. If you didn't know what that was, quadrillion annually, Swift. If XRP captures 5 to 10% of volume, let's just say 10% of volume, $125 trillion annually. The demand for XRP, by the way, could be any of these other technologies we're talking about. Analysts estimate that a $10 trillion market cap could push XRP's price to $100 per token, with full replacement potentially driving it up to $1,000. Now, who those analysts are, I'm willing to bet those analysts own Ripple. And that's why they're writing this. Hey, analysts, just because I say analyst says, it doesn't mean they're 100% right, but yeah, it is a way of looking at what could happen with this. If this were to happen, it's a big deal. Now,
let me ask you this question. If you are an analyst in the crypto space and you're looking at all of this information, you're understanding what the technology does, wouldn't you be an avid investor in that technology? Right? Your whole job is to analyze the market to see where all of this is going. If we know the future is going to be XRP and Hbar and some of these other assets, why wouldn't you own those assets?
The roadblock that they have are a couple things. One is the SEC lawsuit that has slowed adoption, but a resolute adoption. Let me unpack the legal trouble. Let's just go back 4 or 5 years so you kind of know what's going on. Of Garland County, XRP was $125 million appeal against Judge Torres' ruling, and XRP's value experienced volatility, dropping to a 11% following the news. November 2024, different places. Legal experts include.
All right, we don't need to get any more of that information. It's, the case is done. It's already over. But remember this video? This guy used to work for Swift, and he said a long time ago that he sees XRP moving across the Swift network. This video still reigns true. Let's play it.
Here's a discussion surrounding crypto replacing Swift. So we did speak earlier where you mentioned that it's not necessarily about replacing Swift, it's about complementing it. So let's get some more information on this.
Okay. I used to work for Swift. I was Swift for 20 years, so Swift is flowing through my veins. Swift is the preeminent messaging system for the financial industry, which covers, say, payments, FX, trade, in terms of securities, etc., Nostra reconciliations, etc. What we're looking with the crypto, though, is where Swift would have a store and forward system for most of its payment transactions, where you need service level agreements that in a certain time I will do something if the payment turns up at a certain time during the day. Here we're looking at the new network styles which allow instant, real-time movement to the funds and visibility of those funds as well. So we would not have a situation where banks need to come back to you and say, have my funds arrived? It's 3 days later. I need to find out or find query messages moving around the network. There's nothing like that. I don't believe Ripple is going to replace Swift. Ripple is one of the complementary networks, which is going to allow those institutions who need real time to make use of that. And I think we're also seeing that Swift are changing their network capability so that real time will be a possibility as well.
There it is.
But we may also see Ripple XRP moving across the Swift network as a currency when we're perhaps using something like FX.
So here, let's just talk about this really quickly. All right. Swift understands, as well as all of these other banks now, that crypto regulation is coming here to stay, and blockchain rails do allow quicker payments, more cheaper payments, and you're able to get rid of these verified third parties, right? And so you can free up a lot of capital around the world. You won't need Nostro Vostro accounts, right? These pre-funding accounts. This is where all of this money could come back into the ecosystems, right? If you are a bank and you have trillions of dollars, right? If you're one of these big banks, JP Morgan, Citibank, whatever, you have trillions of dollars locked up around the planet with other banks. If you could bring that capital back and start using that capital for business loans, for student loans, or whatever it is, right? Mortgages, allowing new areas of the bank, new technologies to be built out to better serve your customers. Isn't that going to have a greater impact on whatever country is able to bring that money back? The United States, obviously, it could be trillions of dollars. Think about putting those trillions of dollars actively either into the crypto market, some of it, right? Or investing in better infrastructure like crypto infrastructure to do all of this, right? So much money is sitting around the planet. You could free up all of that and think about how much growth and better opportunity people could have and have more access to capital. That has been the biggest issue globally, is getting access to capital. There are businesses out there that need $2, $3, $4 trillion that is just not there in the system because it's spread out all the way around. Now, what is going to unfold here? What do I see happening? I would imagine if you were Swift, you'd want the best of both worlds. Why would you limit to one technology or another? XRP and as a bridge currency is solving the huge FX problem at scale, right? Is solving cross-border payments at scale. Hedera is going to be better for some other things, right? So maybe smart contracts and tokenized value on Hedera might be better than the XRP ledger at this point in time. Hedera's worked really hard on their product and their partnerships and everything else. I'm not saying that XRP is not going to be able to compete at scale with Hedera, but there are some benefits and some things that I like on both sides of it. That's why I own both assets. I own way more XRP than Hedera, but I own both assets. Exciting times, right? Because like when we've seen these videos where we have, Ripple connected to a partnership like EastNets, and that is connected to Swift, we want to go directly. We want to be directly interconnected into the Swift system, and this is how it's done. This is how we do it. I hope you enjoy this, guys. Like, share, let's get it. Let's go to the moon together. I love it. Peace.